How's it going? In today's video, I'm going to be talking to you about how much life insurance you actually need. Now, a lot of times whenever you'll talk to an insurance agent over the phone, or maybe they've been coming to your house, a lot of times they'll try to sell you more than you actually need. And so what I want this video to serve as is like cut through all the BS, get straight to the point and tell you how do you figure out how much you actually need so, one, you don't get oversold, and two, you make sure that your family does have enough coverage to make sure they're taken care of when something happens to you. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and jump into it, put together a little PowerPoint slide that will go over everything we need to go through. So first, let's talk about burial or cremation. Now, whenever we're talking about insurance, life insurance for your final expenses, one of the things we want to take into account is going to be your funeral. Now, there's two main types of funerals. There's all these random kind of things that are coming out nowadays, like turning your body into a tree, but let's just assume that you're going to go with either a burial or a cremation, right? So the first thing you need to decide is, are you going to be buried or cremated? So in this example, let's just assume that I'm going to be getting buried. Right, so we'll say a burial. Next thing, we got to figure out which state you live in, right? Obviously, you know which state you live in, so this shouldn't be too hard. But in this example, let's just say I live in Texas. So I'm getting buried, and I live in Texas. Now we need to figure out if I have any debt, right? So this could be like credit cards or a car payment or any debt that I want to be paid off when I pass away. And now before I do that, I want to quickly talk about how the cremation or burial relates to the state. Because what we're actually going to do is we're going to search, we're going to Google based off of the state that we're in and what we want to be done to find out how much coverage we need, right? So there is this site called the National Funeral Directors Association, and let's see. Yeah, if you Google nfda.org, you'll be able to find this exact link that I'm looking at. And basically here, if I scroll down where it says regional costs, it has all of the prices listed based off of the state that you're in. So if you live in New England, Connecticut, Maryland, or not Maryland, that's Maine, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Rhode Island, it has the cost for a burial or a cremation, right? And it has it for all of the different regions. So, for example, we said I was in Texas, so that's west, south, central. We're going to go with Texas right here. So that would mean that the cost would be $7,334. Now, this is the median cost of a funeral as of 2021, which the costs haven't really changed too much since then. So we're going to go with these numbers, right? So we'll say $7,334. So let's jump back into our PowerPoint now that we know that. And now, whenever you're doing this, obviously if you do a burial, look at the cost for burial. If you're doing a cremation, look at the cost for cremation, and just look at your state. Super simple. So boom, we already talked about the debt. Let's say here we have $1,000 of credit card debt, right? Another thing too is medical expenses. So whenever you pass away, a lot of times people end up in the hospital, and sometimes they rack up a few $1,000s of medical expenses that their family then has to pay or take out of their estate. So in this example, let's say we also want to leave behind $1,000 just in case any medical expenses come up. So you got the $7,334 for the burial, you got $1,000 for credit card debt, and $1,000 for medical expenses. Here's the last question: do we want to leave something behind, right? Do we want to leave an inheritance? Do we want to leave a little gift for the kids or the grandkids or the spouse, whoever it is, right? So this is an important question to ask. If you want to leave behind an inheritance, we also need to factor that into your overall amount of insurance that you're going to get. So in this example, let's say we have two kids and we want to leave them $5,000 each. So we got to add on $10,000 to everything else. So let's look at our total numbers. So we got the $7,334 for a burial in Texas. Obviously plug in either burial or cremation and then find it for your state. We got $1,000 in credit card debt. We got $1,000 in medical expenses. And $10,000 as a gift to our kids. Two kids, $5,000 each. So that brings our total to $19,334. But what about inflation, right? Obviously, you guys saw what happened. Inflation has gone up quite a bit in the last couple of years. We want to make sure that we're not only planning to die now, but in the future, if prices go up and we pass away, we want to make sure we still have enough insurance. So what we use is the cost of a burial in the last 5 years and this is the last report that the Funeral Directors Association put out, was 2021. So 2016 to 2021, the cost of a funeral went up about 1.28% per year, right? So that's a little, I'm going to kind of break this down. Normally, across everything, right, groceries, cars, all this stuff, the consumer price index, which is the CPI right here, for everything, the inflation rate is usually about 3% a year, but for funerals, it's actually a little bit less. So funerals is about 1.28% over the last 5 years. So that's the rate that we're going to assume, because obviously we're talking about insuring for a burial, insuring for a funeral. So we're going to assume that 1.28% inflation per year. And let's assume that you're age 65 and we're going to live to age 90. And I'm going to show you guys how to do this. So basically, there is this calculator that I've been using on Forbes, right? So if you go to Forbes, if you look up Forbes inflation calculator on Google, you'll find this exact article that I'm looking at here. So let's see what we said our initial sum was. It looks like it was $19,334. We'll put $19,334. We'll put the initial year as 2023. And then if we're 65 and we're living to age 90, that's going to be 25 years. So we're going to add 25 to 2023, which comes out to 2048. Now, if you're 70 years old, I like to just assume 90 because I'm optimistic. You know, maybe if you have more health problems, you could lower that number. But I usually assume, like, let's say we live to age 90 just so we have enough coverage protected. So just add whatever your age is to age 90, add that on to the current year. So 2023 plus 25 is 2048. We're going to do the 1.28% for inflation, and then if we hit calculate, it's going to tell us how much insurance we would need. So in this situation, $19,334 is what we would need today, but adjusted for inflation, we're going to want to get $26,571.38 in life insurance. So let me pull this back up here. That is what our total number is. So now let's look at a different example, right? Let's say now instead of a burial in Texas, we're getting a cremation in California. So again, we'll look at the National Funeral Director Association. We look at California. We look at cremation here on the right side. The total comes out to $6,028. Now, let's say we have no debt, no medical expenses, and we want to leave a $5,000 gift to children. So that leaves us with $11,028 total. So how much life insurance do we need? Let's plug this in. Obviously, you already saw the answer there. $11,028. Boom, it comes out to $15,156.16 is the total amount that we would need. So, to kind of recap here, the questions that we're going to want to ask. Are you getting buried or are you getting cremated? Right? Obviously, a burial is usually going to be more expensive than a cremation. What state do you live in? You're going to look at that state and then look at what if you're getting buried or cremated. And if you go to the National Funeral Directors Association and you go to the media center, you can see this press release. If you just look up NFDA cost of a funeral, guarantee you this article will pop up. And then if you look here under regional costs, we can just find, hey, let's match our state to either burial or cremation. Find it right here. Then we also want to figure out, hey, do we have any debt? Do we have any debt that we're trying to cover when we pass away? Add that onto the total. Do you have any medical expenses? Are you expecting to have any medical expenses when you pass away? Or do you just want to be safe and kind of factor that in? I think $1,000 is a pretty safe number, but it's entirely up to you there. And then also, do you want to leave something behind? Do you want to have an inheritance because you're a kid, or just a gift or something to help them after you're gone? We also want to factor that in. And then after that, we just want to factor in inflation. You can go to this Forbes inflation calculator, and it does all of the math for you so you don't have to think. So that's basically the way that we like to help our clients calculate how much life insurance do they need. It's a much more tactical, much more analytical approach that most people take. Most people will just say, like, hey, get $10,000 or get this or get that, or they'll just try to sell you as much as you can afford. We like to do it a little bit differently so that we can literally pinpoint down exactly what you need So we're not overselling you, we're not underselling you on life insurance. So with that all being said, if you want to have us help you through this entire process and help you find the best coverage, and when I say best coverage, I mean the most amount of coverage for the lowest possible price with the best terms possible, right? So if you can qualify for something without a waiting period, that's what we're going to put you on. And whatever the best price is that we can get you, that's what we're going to find you. So we work with a bunch of the top insurance companies. We can shop all of them for you to find you the best rate that you can possibly get. And if you would like to have us help you through that entire process, you don't have to compare a bunch of quotes and do all this and do all that. All you need to do is click that button down below this video, book a time with our team, and we're happy to help you protect your family. There's no pressure if you book the call. Basically, all we'll do is just go over your options, run through this process, and see how much coverage you need. But at the end of the day, there's no pressure to buy anything from us. We're just here to help you and help you figure out how much coverage you need and what the best option is for you. So with that being said, if you want us to help you, click the button down below, and I will see you in the next video.